Good morning, families. Good morning, my sweet littles. How are you doing today? Is it a warm day today, or is it a cool day today for you? Hopefully you're enjoying your day, whatever you're doing. Hopefully you're out in the sunshine, maybe in your garden. This past weekend, I was able to get a chance to go to the beach, and I was very excited about that. And today I'm going to read a book about a seahorse. It's called Mr. Seahorse by Carle. And when I was at the beach, I saw sea stars so big, bigger than my face in the tide pool. I saw sea anemones. They were so big, and they had green and blue tentacles that were very sticky. And when I put my finger inside just to touch the little tentacles, he tried to close up around my finger, and he was very sticky, but I was able to get my hand out, but I was very gentle. And then we saw jellyfish, little jellyfish, and great big jellyfish that had washed up on the shore. We saw crabs, little tiny crabs, and medium-sized crabs, not too big of crabs. We saw lots and lots of mussels on the rocks, and I found one that I wanted to show to you. So this is one of my favorite things. I love collecting shells, as you know. I have a huge collection of shells, and I have lots of shells all around the house. But this one we found at Mirror Beach, and it's a mussel, and they attach like this at this end to the rock, and they're usually closed. And in the tide, when the water rushes over them, small particles of food or plankton rush over them, and that's what they eat, and they bring it inside the shell. There's usually a mussel inside the main body of this creature, and he eats the food and then spits out the water. So this is beautiful. You can see inside it's blue and iridescent colors, and this one happens to be connected still, which I really love. But you can see the back of the shell, and I always imagined that you could use this as an eating utensil, and it probably was for some people in certain cultures around the world. And I would love to eat some rice. If I could eat rice, I would love to eat some rice with the shell. And now I have this resting in one of my plants in the pots right in the base of it. So I really love this, and it reminds me of the time this last weekend that we went to the beach and the fun times that we had. There was a puppy who was like the beach dog, and he was very cute, and he would go around to every single family that was on the beach and just sit with them and love them. His name was Swimmer, and he didn't smell so good because I think he was swimming and being friendly for lots of days, perhaps without a bath. But he was very, very sweet, and he put his paw on my hand and wanted me to sort of hold his paw. Swimmer was very cute. Anyway, so every time I see this shell this week, I think about Swimmer and all the animals and creatures that we found, and playing soccer in the water and being with family and loved ones. It was a good time. Have you been to the beach lately? Maybe someday soon you'll get a chance to go if you haven't already been. Okay, well, let's start our lavender scents and our candle, okay? And we'll get to our book. The lavender outside the house is blooming, and it smells so yummy. And my gardenias are blooming. I love gardenias. Take a moment. Everybody take a deep breath. Ready? Inhale. Exhale. Let it all go. Relax your body. You're going to listen to a story maybe one more time. Ready? Take it all in. Exhale it out. Now we're ready. Oh, not yet. We need to light the candle. it's so hot. I think that I forget a little bit about the candle because fire to me is sort of like heat. And so maybe that is the reason, but I did put a new candle in. I love this candle. Let's put it right over here so it doesn't get blown by my fan because I have the fan on. Okay. So, Mr. Seahorse by Carle. And on here, you'll sometimes see stickers on the books, all over the books. And when they put a sticker on it, it means that somewhere, somehow, someone has looked at this book and they said, this is a fantastic book. This happens to be the Laura Ingalls Award, Laura Ingalls Wilder Award. So, congratulations to Carle. We have lots of books about from Carle. Here's the Sea Mr. Seahorse and all of his swimming abilities. And here are 2 seahorses. You see Carle's name here? That's how he signs his artwork. Wonder if this was signed. This book was donated to me by Janie Lewis, and thank you. So sorry, I should have said that in the beginning. Perhaps it was a signed copy that she had received or found, and that's pretty special when the author autographs your book. Oh my goodness, how special is that? Not quite certain, but I think that's what this is. So Janie, thank you so much for this special gift to our classroom and to the children. I really appreciate it. Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. Mrs. Seahorse began to wiggle and twist this way and that. So here's Mrs. Seahorse, and here's Mr. Seahorse. Look at the colors. It's time for me to lay my eggs, she said. Can I help? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Oh, yes, thank you, said Mrs. Seahorse, and she laid her eggs into a pouch on Mr. Seahorse's belly. I'll take good care of our eggs, said Mr. Seahorse. I promise. That was kind of him, and that was good teamwork. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a group of trumpetfish hidden in a patch of reeds. So here's Mr. Seahorse, and he has the baby's eggs in his pouch. And here he's passing through the reeds, and then, there's the trumpetfish. They are hidden in the reeds. Isn't this a beautiful book? Look at how you can just turn it and peekaboo. There they are. Hold on a second. Let me readjust my feetsies here. Oh, much better. I'm sitting on my yoga blanket that I got from Benicia Yoga House Co. You see the pretty pattern? And it's right under my feet, and I'm sitting on the wood floor, so I was starting to need it a little bit adjusted. I apologize. Okay. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Stickleback? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Delighted, replied Mr. Stickleback. I just built a nest, and right away, Mrs. Stickleback laid her eggs into it. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch. Keep up the good work, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. Oh, the Stickleback made a nest, and there's the eggs inside. And here's the Stickleback, and here's Mr. Seahorse asking him. He's taking care of the babies too. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a lionfish hidden behind a coral reef. So here's Mr. Seahorse, and here is the coral reef, and the lionfish. Oh, look, we're going to see, are they well hidden? Yes! The lionfish was well hidden in that coral reef. Look how beautiful he is. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Tilapia?" asked Mr. Seahorse. Mr. Seahorse couldn't answer. His mouth was full of eggs. I know, said Mr. Seahorse. "Mrs. Tilapia laid her eggs. Now you're taking good care of them until they hatch." Mr. Tilapia nodded his head. "You must be very happy," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. So here's the tilapia, and Mr. Seahorse is looking inside his mouth, and you see all of the eggs, and he's very happy to help with the hatching and taking good care of the eggs. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by several leaf fish hidden among the seaweed. So here's here's the seaweed. Can you see the fish? Let's see if we can see them. There you see them. They were hidden so long. Now, what is it called when you have markings on your body that help you to hide really well in nature? I know some of you know the word. It starts with a k. Camouflage. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Curtis?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Perfectly fine," replied Mr. Curtis. Mrs. Curtis laid her eggs, and I have stuck them on my head. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch. "You are doing a good job," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. And there he is, and the eggs are on top of his face, right here. And here is Mr. Seahorse upside down, looking at him. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a stonefish hidden behind a rock. Okay, let's see if we can see him. There's Mr. Seahorse. Oh, do you see the stonefish? Oh, he's so well hidden. Oh, hello, there he is. He was camouflaged really well. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Pipe?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Couldn't be better," replied Mr. Pipe. "Mrs. Pipe laid her eggs along my belly. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch." "You should feel proud of yourself," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam away. Look at that. So here you can see Mr. Seahorse. Gradually his stomach is getting bigger and bigger, and here you see all the little circles, which are the eggs that were laid on his stomach. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Bullhead?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Tip-top," replied Mr. Bullhead. "Mrs. Bullhead laid her eggs on, and the eggs hatched, and now I'm babysitting." "You're doing a fine job," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. That is so cute. Here's the bullhead, and he has tons of babies around. He's babysitting. The time had come for a seahorse baby to be born. Mr. Seahorse wiggled and twisted this way and that. At last, the babies tumbled from Mr. Seahorse's pouch and swam away. One baby turned around and tried to come back into the pouch. "Oh no," said Mr. Seahorse. "I do love you, but now you are ready to be on your own." Look at all the baby seahorses. Bum, bum. wanted to actually show you on the jacket cover. It shows a picture of Carle, and here he is in the middle of creating one of his paintings. I'm not sure which one it is. It might be this one. You can see the colors look like that of the seahorse, but he is a kind-looking fellow, don't you think? And that is Carle. Well, Father's Day is coming up, and it's coming up this Sunday, and so I read this book in honor of all the dads who take care of and love their little babies so very much. When you are with your mom and dad, or with a loved one, let them know how much you care for them and love them. And especially on Father's Day, make sure you give extra special hugs and kisses to your daddy. Okay? I love each and every one of you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.